Right, ladies and gentlemen, don't forget to record your session, and then once you are ready, you may start, right?
Okay. Assalamualaikum and good morning to Madam and my fellow friends. Thank you for joining us today. I am Farra Faeka Binti Mohamad Yazid as a moderator for this webinar. Before we continue to talk about our topic, allow me to introduce our panelists for this webinar. Our first panelist is Siti Nur Alya Aina Binti Muhammad Saperi, who is a Islamic lecturer for Sultan Idris Education University. How are you today, Miss Alya Aina?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good.
Okay.
Thank you for asking.
Okay, welcome. Okay, next, our second panelist is Aini Syanini Binti Muhammad Zamani, who is a clinical psychologist. How are you today, Miss Aini Syanini?
Alhamdulillah, I'm good. Thank you, moderator, for asking.
Okay, welcome. Okay, the last one, our third panelist is Muhammad Irman Hakim bin Aris, who is a counselor at Sultan Idris Education University. How are you today, Mr. Irman?
I'm fine, Alhamdulillah. Thank you.
Okay, welcome. Okay, today our topic is about social issues, which is we choose to talk about LGBT. As we know, LGBT is abbreviation for lesbian, gay, bisexual, and transgender. These terms are used to describe a person's sexual orientation or gender identity. Lesbian usually refers to a woman who has a sexual orientation toward their same genders, while gay usually refers to a man who has an emotional sense and sexual orientation towards their same genders. Bisexual or bi refers to people who has a sexual and romantic feeling for both genders. And the last, transgender is an individual who has a different character or style than the gender of their birth. Okay, we continue our session with sharing session from our three panelists. My first question for our first panel is, we often hear about LGBT issues happening in our country from time to time. So, what are the factors that cause these LGBT issues in our country? Welcome to panel 1.
Okay, thank you, Miss Moderator. Okay, Assalamualaikum and good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm honored to have the opportunity to address the esteemed audience. Glad to be joining everyone here today. May the audience be in good health. And how are you, Miss Moderator? Okay, I hope
I'm fine,
she's
thank you.
fine.
Sorry.
Okay. Okay, happy to hear that. Okay, distinguished panelists and attendees. Without wasting any more time, let's move on to our topic today, which is LGBT. Okay, what do you all know about LGBT? Okay, LGBT is generally a special relationship between individuals, but of the same sex or gender. Sounds a little weird, right? Okay, for normal people like all of us. But don't draw any conclusion about this community. Everything that happens must have a cause or factor. So let's look at some of the reason or factors why LGBT issues occur and are contagious. I believe there are many factors that cause these LGBT issues to occur and spread. Among them is the lack of appreciation for religion. Religious practice is indeed one of the important aspects of life. Individuals who adhere to religion will be able to ascertain something good and bad before acting to do it. The absence of a religious belief will indeed cause them to run away from the normal limits of human life. For those Muslim who make the Quran and Sunnah as a way of life will not do things that are not immoral. Okay, let's move on to factors number 2, which is troubled families. An unhealthy families and environment causes children to receive less attention and indirectly stifles the development and growth of children. So they will form an unhealthy mental representation. The findings of the study found the respondents state that their parents were always quarrelsome, work oriented, and often ignore them. The busyness of working parents and the lack of time with children cause them to seek love and attention through relationship with peers. A closer relationship with friends than the parents also contribute to LGBT. This is due to the lack of parental love and attention since childhood, resulting in LGBT. Teens starting to distance themselves and find same-sex partner who can act like their parents. Parents do play an important role in the development of adolescent. Adolescent is general ranks where they often need someone to share their feelings and hearts. Okay, the number three factor why LGBT issues occur and are contagious is peer influence. Peer influence like this is influence derived from peers who have similar personalities and problems. They make friends with people of every age who have the same personality as them. The result of the study found that the majority of respondents say that the influence of same-sex couples is a factor that causes them to engage with LGBT. A friend who will be a motivator to defend against the things being done. Peers are composed of students or individuals who are nearly equal to each other. Adolescents tend to follow the behavior of the group in which they are located. These teens will also do or make what their group do or does. Okay, we need to choose wisely who to be friends with. Okay, and last but not least, please take care of yourself and many more actually factors. Just let me tell you three that can be said to be the main factors. Okay. That's it from me. I handed back the ceremony to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Alya Aina, for your opinion. We can know the factors that cause these LGBT issues is lack of religious belief, family problem, and peer influence. People, especially teenagers who lack of love from family, can cause them to be a less religiously educated, and then they will find peers who can understand their feelings and desires. As we know, LGBT does have a bad effect on someone in their life. Therefore, my question for the second panel is, what is the impact for those who are involved with LGBT issues? Welcome to panel 2.
Okay, Alhamdulillah, Assalamualaikum and good day everyone. First of all, thank you Miss Moderator for having me as a panelist in this webinar today. Okay, related to our topic today, as a clinical psychologist, of course that I have experienced a lot of LGBT patient that involved in LGBT. So back to the question, the LGBT community is definitely exuding detrimental influence, especially on the individual itself. Scientifically speaking, those who are sexually engaged in LGBT relationship are more prone to get chronic illnesses, including HIV, AIDS, and sexual transmitted infection. According to the Malaysian Ministry of that in 2018 were caused by homosexual and bisexual practice. And yeah, that's not surprising this year. The number of cases increased significantly. Thus, it definitely possible for these cases to rise each day. And if the society were to normalize the LGBT. Not only that, they will face the long-term difficulties as they will be continuously ridiculed and mocked by the local community. and as clearly that LGBT are not accepted here. Okay, from the employment of perspective, they will eventually lose a position or even a job um, if the employer were to know about their involvement with the LGBT activists. So as we can see, when the individuals corrupt themselves with LGBT, eventually it will decrease their self-esteem since they are no longer concerned with their self-dignity, especially when last take control of them and lead them to do things that the local community forbid and against the law. On society institution, LGBT issue have a significant influence on society institution. The presence of this group, which is increasingly daring to expose themselves through various methods, such as on social media. And of course, it makes the community uneasy with so a person who does not obey the rules of society in social life will be expelled from society. This is due to the fact that they will generate conflict in the public. For example, society would remove LGBT person or members of the community who are connected with LGBT for fear of persuading others to join them. If this occur, the community involved will be shamed and community honor will be shattered. Needless to say, LGBT definitely influences society in a bad way, and this conduct will have an impact on the existence of a harmonious community. Last but not least, LGBT has the potential of destroying civilization foundation family structure. Either because it might challenge the family structure via human nature. The LGBT ideology definitely threatening our country, civilization, and culture. And don't be surprised because there are also irresponsible LGBT person who form families among themselves without a legal marriage and have children in inequitable ways. As a result, an innocent child may be born and have two mother and two dad. As a result, okay, so this lead to the mixing families alike and the dismantling of family institution. If this problem is not resolved promptly, um, it is possible that no child may be born in a legal marriage. Plus, the child will be face a lot of dishonor growing up. Eventually, the development of a pleasant and civilized religion of human existence is hindered. Okay, that's all from me. We back to our moderator.
Okay. Thank you, Miss Aini Syanini, for your opinion. As mentioned from panel 2 about the impact of LGBT are chronic illness, society institution, and family structures. As we know, every problem or issue must have a way to solve that. My question to our panel 3 is, what is the way that you think to overcome this issue? Welcome to panel 3.
Okay, thank you, Miss Moderator, Farra Faeka. Assalamualaikum and good morning, everyone. First of all, thank you for inviting me to this webinar that talks about LGBT issues. The LGBT issue is a global issue which has spread widely to our country. The efforts of hundreds of activists to defend and promote LGBT rights around the world prove that the problems associated with it are a global phenomenon. It is important to remember that LGBT is really against Malaysian culture, traditions, belief, and religion. In an effort to combat this LGBT issue, there are some parties that need to care about this LGBT prevention, such as parents, society, and government. Parents need to be friendly and close with their children and be aware of all their children's activities from an early age. Parents need to know everything they go through and experience in early childhood and early adolescence. This stage is very important because that stage is what underlies how a man becomes a woman and a woman becomes a man. Parents are also advised to seek knowledge on LGBT issues in order to prevent children from falling into the group. As a precautionary measure and to prevent children from getting involved with LGBT issues, parents need to give exposure to children regarding the technique of saying no to any call that pushes in that direction. On the society's side, the society is advised not to discriminate and compose responses from labeling LGBT groups. Instead, they need to be helped by being educated so that these groups return to the basics. One of the main reasons why LGBT people do not find solutions to cure and treat themselves is due to the attitude of society itself, which likes to label, condemn, ridicule, and insult the LGBT group. Society sees a prejudice against this group, and there are even those who take advantage of them to cause the LGBT community to choose not to be with society and even distance themselves from society. If the LGBT community continues to shout for human rights, the surrounding community also have the same right to ensure that their lives are spared from human nature, thus ensuring that their generation is spared from the deviation of LGBT sexual orientation. Then, among the measures that the government can do is through the formation of welfare budgets or planning plans by the government and governments and non-governmental organizations can launch campaigns to raise awareness among Malaysians about friendship. Such campaigns can be conducted in public areas, in schools or universities. Mass media such as media social, Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, television, internet and so on can be used to display this campaign live for public viewing. Charities such as the Islamic Religious Department can set up groups to monitor and combat these immoral symptoms. These are among the steps that can be taken by the parents, society, and government to eradicate this LGBT symptom from continuing to spread. Well, it seems time has ended with us. That's all from me. I giving back to the moderator. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Irman, for your opinion. Every parties need to play important role to overcome these LGBT issues that involve roles of parents, society, and government. So we need to prevent these LGBT issues together to ensure our country in a state of harmony. Okay, thank you to all our panelists for sharing your opinion about these LGBT issues. We continue this webinar with Q&A session. For those who has a question, you can open your mic and give the question. Anyone have a question? You can open your mic.
Assalamualaikum and good morning. I have a question for panel 2, Miss Aini. Is there any religion that allows LGBT and what is the effect? Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Miss Efariza, for your question. As mentioned from Miss Efariza, she want panel 2 to answer the question. Welcome to panel 2.
Okay, thank you for asking such an interesting question. Generally, in all religions, LGBT are severely prohibited. It because it can able to distort their own religion. For example, Islam, restrict its member from engaging in wicked activities such as homosexuality. Allah Subhanahu wa Taala despises the LGBT activities, saying it explicitly declared in Al Quran and Hadith. According to religion, this conduct is a fleeting relationship that will result in many diseases and eventually flaw descendant. That's all for that question. I hope your question is answered, and back to the moderator.
Okay, thank you panel 2 for your answer to the question. So ada another one to give a question? You can open your mic.
Assalamualaikum and good morning. I have a
Waalaikumsalam.
question. What should I do if my friend are involved with LGBT?
Okay, thank you Mr. Farid for your question. Okay, for this question, I want to give panel 1 to answer that. Welcome to panel 1.
Okay, thank you for asking. Okay, for me, if your friend is a Muslim, you should continue to invite him to practice the religion more, and please do not leave him and don't make him feel left out, and continue to support him. And of course, you should guide your friends and to get back to straight path. Okay, answering. I hope this answering your question. And alright, thank you. And back to our moderator.
Okay, thank you panel 1 for your answer to the question. So ada another one to give a question? You can open your mic.
Assalamualaikum and good morning. I have a question.
Okay.
What is the role of agencies such as Hakim and others in ensuring that the LGBT group returns to their original nature? Thank you.
Okay, thank you Miss Camelia for your question. For this question, I give to panel 3 to answer the question. Welcome to panel 3.
Okay, thanks to our friend Camilla who asked the question. Agency such as is there are many roles are played by this agency, such as organizing the Mukhayyam program as one of the treatment for the LGBT community. This program is mainly organized by Hakim in collaboration with government and non-governmental organizations, NGO, such as Usra Fitrah, Hijrah Republic Network, the Fitrah, Yayasan Ihtimam, and Department of Health, including universities such as University of Science Malaysia, USM, and University Islam Antarabangsa, UIA. The program is in a form of camps for 3 days and 2 nights with a frequency of 2 or 3 times a year. The main target of LGBT people from all over the country. I think that's the only answer I can give. Hope to answer the questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you panel 3 for your answer to the question. Okay, I think that's all from us. Thank you for our panelists, madam and fellow friend. We close our talk for this webinar. Thank you.
Alright, thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your information sharing. Alright, so good job. So we're going to